for those opportunities. So EMPYREAN, they're going to need to tighten up if they want to take this series and stay alive in the tournament.
And a lot of that is going to rely on communication, calling out what you need, and again, doing what they've been working on the whole time. But this is huge. This is huge for us, Jake. We roll Palm Bay. Neither selected, so we're just starting here. Will it be EMPYREAN whose tactics shook things up taking Palm Bay, or will it be CSTG taking away EMPYREAN's home turf?
And the Welkin ban comes out immediately. Welkin has been a mainstay on pretty much every map. It's responsive Stego ban, so two of the heaviest tanks. I mean, we talked about Palm Bay constantly featuring these ultra heavy tanking setups, and now two of the mainstays in that comp are banned. I mean, things are going to get really different in this match. This is a true test of both squads' preparation.
If only it could be inside EMPYREAN's head right now. I'd love to know their thought behind the Welkin ban. Not nearly as much value here as you'll get on other maps with Welkin, so this could be a move maybe to make Welkin less of a presence on Palm Bay Harbor. It could also be a move to make sure that Welkin isn't banned in later matches where they're going to need it.
Yariella hovering the Panther, thinking about it, considering between Elise Ness and Panther. Do they want to take the mirror against Yinsa? That'd be a lot of confidence. Ramen Rook on the signature Sky Raider. But it's only going to be Tricera and Hurricane for the heavy tanking setups, right? So it's just a much more light map than we typically see on Palm Bay. Curious that neither team is going for the Aquila. Maybe they just feel that, you know, the threat of this Panther is too much, too scary to deal with.
Could be, especially knowing that you've got a Sky Raider on the other side of that as well. Aquila maybe losing some value, but now we're going to get to see how these two face off against each other. I like that Yariella ended up sticking with the Elysnes. I think it's a much safer bet. Yariella's great at putting out pressure onto a backline, but I wouldn't want to opt into the Panther 1v1 when Elysnes is just such a consistent source of whether you're winning or not, you're definitely stalling.
Yeah, and as well could be a defensive tool that can help answer something like Yinsa. I mean, the parry threat, very real with Panther being so melee reliant. So Yariel, I think, is going to be a key player to watch for EMPYREAN, but clearly I think EMPYREAN are going to be out of their comfort zone, right? Like, both Stego and Welkin are typically key to this strategy. So both teams going to have to make some big adaptations.
It is CSTG that have the initial advantage, and we saw EMPYREAN run this yesterday where they give up a lot of the high ground initially, opt into the low ground, and should CSTG try and commit to taking them out of here, we saw them rotate under and through to end up on ultimate high ground themselves. You still got a little while until the point unlocks, but that's where we'll really see these strategies unleashed. I appreciate that CSTG are not getting antsy. They're just retaining the high ground for now, playing for the retake later.
Let's see who makes this first move for Boyd. Both teams waiting for that key middle capture objective to open. CSTG starting to creep forward, starting to put the pressure down. Without the Stego, though, the long-range spam pressure less threatening here. And EMPYREAN looked like they want to go for a map flip here, trying to take the high ground. It's unclear how aware of the CSTG are. Now they see it coming. Question is, how do they respond? Lin Ziming trying to fight. No, backed off to the low ground. And it looks like a point capture potentially here for CSTG. EMPYREAN, they have shown a real willingness in the past to give up this map. The first checkpoint, not being worried about it, just playing for that key first team fight victory on the high ground.
Not the worst thing in the world. If your cart isn't being reversed, you're going to have basically an even shot at points B and C as well. So it'll be up to CSTG to actually play for the reverse and keep EMPYREAN at a disadvantage. For the moment, it'll be devolving into fighting for the next little while as Yinzi's unable to interrupt Caldean, but doesn't stop you from going for it on the Panther. I'm not seeing the Panther really countered right now.
Yeah, he's getting a lot done. Starting to get aggressive, push the limit. Now turned on a bit by the Inferno. Forced to fall back, but clearly Yinsa drawing a lot of attention. Cart progress very close. And look, all these clones from Inferno. The baiting targets from the Hurricane. It's really difficult for Panther to get stuck in.
Yeah, super hard to kill on the Panther, though, and that's the real thing that's keeping CSTG in the driver's seat of this game, because you have to be looking at Panther every once in a while. Ming Ziming going to drop down to the low ground, and is mostly fulfilling the Inferno's job right now. We haven't seen a whole lot of kills on either side, but with Caldean having fallen recently on EMPYREAN, it's notable that they haven't given way to the snowball from CSTG and instead have kept things pretty even. Caldean's now back into the game, and maybe EMPYREAN could try and take the team fight that's going to break out at point B shortly.
Tricera starting to get focused. Magical Abyss continuing to pour the pressure on the main group, putting his own life at risk in the process. Now Yinsa looks to get active, looks to take the fight outside. Small lead on the cart for CSTG, but EMPYREAN playing for the key team fight.
Not even missing all of his fluid armor. Panther so incredibly tanky in the right situation. Gets parried by Ancilla, but not focused down as Zhuhai keeps the pressure on. Tricera having a really difficult time dealing with things like Alisnes. CSTG now have the opportunity to capture the point, and they are all over it. There's not really any answer from EMPYREAN, who are just now getting onto the point themselves, with no kills on either side. Ming from CSTG actually being one to go down. Gonna get back into the fight soon. It is EMPYREAN who had a temporary numbers advantage, and we're seeing that turn into a point cap on B.
Still fighting for it, though. CSTG bringing numbers to the engagement. Insa looking to find something, looking to create an advantage for the squad. Sanju on the Hurricane, trying to continue that fight, but Yariella finds Senwang. And so it seems like EMPYREAN may be overwhelming. Playing for this high ground is a winning strategy. 3 CSTG players already out of their strikers on the respawn. And now Yariella looking for more on the Alisnes.
I mean, this is exactly what you got to love about Yariella. Never gives up on a backline. Once he sees you, he'll waste a couple lives throwing some pressure at you. Forces the Inferno to back off completely. 0 value out of that pick for the next little while. Yariella gets back with the rest of the team. 51-38. Really good looks for EMPYREAN, and CSTG have actually got to start getting their cart moving with nobody on it right now, and it actually being reversed by EMPYREAN. You can tell EMPYREAN are taking control of this match. They're on both carts.
CSTG are playing for one big team fight win, trying to hold this outside gate. Chaldean low, under pressure, but Yinsa locked down, had to fall back. No fluid armor to rely on. It's a difficult spot to be on Panther. Massive AoE from Ming, and already a pickoff now from CSTG. They're up 1 in this fight. Big objective lead, though, for EMPYREAN. Down 1, but not out.
Now the Chaldean's fallen, though. Numbers advantage and Snowball. Such a real threat. And with Yinzi still in your back line, playing aggressive, you wait for the Chaldean respawn. 5 seconds away. You've got a little while to reverse EMPYREAN's cart. But again, we got to get CSTG's creeping up here because there is still such a huge lead in favor of EMPYREAN.
Ming, HP advantage on the Inferno, doubles down on the Magical Abyss. EMPYREAN players dropping like flies, and CSTG look to equalize this objective advantage. Inferno over the top, pumping damage into Scylla. Insa now senses blood, sees an opportunity to get aggressive. However, EMPYREAN did trade one back in this fight. CSTG, many players lacking fluid armor, so EMPYREAN are fighting back incredibly well, despite being down 1 early in that engagement. Panther, though, maybe finding something. No, it's Yariella, who turns onto Sanju.
Yinzi's essentially being completely ignored. Now that we've got the jamming missiles in from Skyraider as well, Ramanaruk helping support the team on point C. Yinzi's dashing around, drawing some attention, but realistically not getting too much done. Maybe stalling the point capture for a little while, but EMPYREAN still in the lead with everyone back in, and CSTG having just respawned to 6 as they lose Ming, keep themselves at a numbers disadvantage with EMPYREAN taking a harsh lead on the last point.
Yariella has been getting so many of these crucial pickoffs. Even when EMPYREAN drop 1, they're still fighting well in the down number scenario. Yinsa sees an opportunity, commits on the team's damage, trying to burn 1 down, but that Luminate gas so powerful, keeping players alive. Now, Sanju over the top, trying to finish a couple key kills. EMPYREAN drop 1.
Taking out Ancilla is big. That's going to be the source of stall, the source of backline pressure for EMPYREAN taken out. And Ancilla going to be back soon with 4 lives left. Quick reverse on the cart from CSTG, who have completely ignored pushing their own payload.
Yeah, they know that they have to get a big team wipe here. They have to clean EMPYREAN off the map. EMPYREAN have their spawner coming back in, but still they lose Chaldean, starting to stagger now. Advantage for CSTG. Ming a big part of that. Continuing to pump damage on the Inferno from above.
Yariella's back in the game. Got to start disrupting this Inferno, but Hurricane's causing a bit of a problem, as Hurricane do. Zach going to fall as well, and that's the source of sustain for EMPYREAN that's allowed them to reset so far. As Chaldean gets back into the game, how long can you survive without your Luminae? What will this mean for EMPYREAN? Their cart no longer being reversed, though, does still inch them ever closer to victory. Man, this has been difficult, and Scylla going down again. But even as EMPYREAN lose players, they retain a 20% lead.
They've got a lot to work with here. Player advantage being retained by CSTG. They start the payload back cap. This is what they need to do. Maybe one more big fight could really rout EMPYREAN. Yinsa, though, struggling to stay on the cart. Panther not the best at holding on to that, and does get focused down. Ramen Rook, he's been a constant thorn in the side of the enemies all day long, and Chaldean now turns it back. CSTG crumbling at the final hurdle. 90% progress. Send Wing doing his best to hold down to the cart, but starting to feel that combined focus fire from EMPYREAN.
Takes a long time to take out a Tricera, and Chaldean recognizes that it's going to take just as long with or without him. Goes back to reverse CSTG's cart in the same way. Now with both carts being pushed back, it'll be EMPYREAN that at least retain their lead for now, and since they've got a numbers advantage on it and the health pool advantage on the enemy Tricera, they may just be able to do this. Magical Abyss getting shoved around by Yinzi. This is Inferno's worst nightmare, is being trapped in a 1v1 with Panther, but Yinzi can't get too much done on the cart. 97%, and EMPYREAN are about to take this 100-67. EMPYREAN dominating on Palm Bay Harbor. What a fantastic map for them.
That was so incredibly close. CSTG got cart control at the very last second, but it was just too late. EMPYREAN got it over the line, and props to Chaldean for really securing the game, right? Like, it felt like maybe they could have gone all in, tried to close out, but even if they lost that team fight, even if they weren't able to get over the line to 100%, Chaldean had secured that they had a couple team fights in reserve due to that massive objective lead. Well played, and EMPYREAN, they're going to be feeling really good about that opening roll. This does mean, though, winning that first map, now CSTG are going to have map selection. They could take us to something like a Crop Single.
Very true, and I'd like to see them on that map. Maybe Cape Blanc Observatory, as you brought up earlier, being a really good map for CSTG to try a strategy that maybe diversifies the objectives a little bit more. But I'm shaken, and I imagine CSTG are as well. Seeing Palm Bay Harbor, a map that they've also done very well on, taken away from them, and by EMPYREAN, who are running a little bit of an odd strategy. Maybe when you thought you could counter, they let Yinza have Panther and still walked away with that, never really watching their cart go backwards at all. Huge lead. I would not call Palm Bay Harbor close here.
No, it was dominant. It was a great look for EMPYREAN as they look to stay alive, keep the hope here for the NA teams alive. Last two, EMPYREAN and Orca, trying to stay alive, trying to continue on in this tournament. Right now, it's CSTG who are facing elimination. Yinza has been such a popular pilot to watch throughout the tournament, has been super enjoyable to see his plays on the Panther. But at this level of play, no matter how good you are at an individual striker, these are top teams. They have the answers. Yeah,
we are seeing team coordination really rule all, and you've been saying it since day one, Jake, that Mecha Break is a game that, regardless of individual skill, it is heavily weighted towards team cooperation, coordination, and strategy, something that EMPYREAN have really dialed in on over the last couple of days, and it's a strength that they even started the tournament with.
Got to highlight Ramen Rook as well on the Skyrider in that map. I mean, I feel like he's never dying, right? Like, that's so crucial. He's just that constant high uptime harassment, keeping the pressure on the players of CSTG, not allowing them to get the team fights they want, the setups they're hoping for. And I was even the Skyrider. I think the Falcon maybe is even more comfortable for Ramen Rook. So having that accomplished fire player, when we saw Mingyue in the last series, looking great. And I think we're coming to see now that these flyer characters, maybe their raw stats aren't going to be topping the boards, but the amount of pressure they put on the opponent, the amount of disruptive effect that they have, it pays dividends in ways that are maybe hard to capture statistically.
And it's really cool to see how the Flyers are so reliant on the overall team strategy. It's not like you have a nice team comp and then you pick Falcon as just extra X damage. It is really, are we a pick comp? If so, Falcon. Are we a team fight comp? If so, Skyrider, that we're seeing develop over the course of literally just the last 48 hours.
Yeah, very true. It's been awesome last few days here in Zhuhai to see these top teams innovate, scrim one another, push Mecha Break to new heights, discover the best strategies available in the game. So folks at home watching who've been enjoying the game can really learn a lot. And Scylla looks to be taking that MVP here. And I mean, this is no surprise, I would say, on Palm Bay. I mean, Tricera just capping the objective, so crucial. But there's a big decision to be made for Tricera. Like, when do you commit? When do you go all in, commit turret form on the cart, and have the confidence that your team does have the resources to support you? Got to give credit to somebody like Chaldean. I think that was a big factor for EMPYREAN, why they were able to win those main group battles.
I'll say the same thing of Yariella. I was really impressed with the Illustrious play that game, and it kept the alternate Inferno really honest, not able to put out a lot of damage, and even Yinzi, when you're faced up with the threat of being parried. If Yariel is playing with the group, you're faced off with the threat of having your backline dove. When he's not, Yariela was outputting incredible pressure and was doing so in a much more coordinated way than we've seen EMPYREAN be able to do before.
Wow, look at that damage gap between the Infernos, though. Magical Abyss, huge output on the Inferno. I mean, we've seen that be a critical factor, but it's going to be Ramen Rook taking home the MVP. And I think, well, we weren't on his cam very much. I'd like this MVP. You know, no deaths on the Sky Raider, and Sky Raider not nearly as easy to stay alive as something like a Falcon. You have a little bit less mobility, but a little bit more damage, a little bit more team fight disruption you can bring. So you got to give credit to Ramen Rook here in the series. A big factor for EMPYREAN securing this opening map win.
Yeah, the fact that you have such a comfortable flyer when it comes to even switching between strategies. Not everyone is going to be just as good of a Sky Raider as they are a Falcon. These are extremely different play styles, especially with how they're supposed to work with the team, and it is a huge boon to EMPYREAN that they're able to alternate between the two, getting a lot of passive value out of the jamming missiles, which is far and away one of the biggest reasons that you're able to pick Sky Raider. Otherwise, Falcon's mobility is still pretty chill. CSTG did have a really good couple team fights around this cart, but like you were saying, there was so much time bought by EMPYREAN because of their play around point B and C that them giving up point A essentially for free became a thing completely of the past. I didn't even think about it because it had so little impact on the game.
Yeah, so powerful. That's something EMPYREAN have consistently gone for, giving up that A point and just playing for the better team fight position, and it's been a winning strategy for them so far. Palm Bay's been a great map. They're super happy to grab that off the random draw. However, now they're going to have to beat CSTG in their opposing team's comfort zone. It is going to be the Cape Blanc Observatory. This is a very open map. Multiple objectives will spawn at any one time. That's going to mean sometimes for EMPYREAN, you're going to be forced to split. You won't be able to play that team play style. I also think, though, Ramen Rook can be a big mitigating factor. As good as players like Insa are on the Panther, as much as they can find pickoffs on split opponents, so too can Ramen Rook do just the same thing.
Yeah, a good Falcon on Cape Blanc Observatory will ruin your life. And I am fully expecting the Falcon lock-in here, and CSTG looks like they are too. That was a heads-up ban. Yeah,
they were ready for this. They have this one prepped out for sure. That being said, it does use up the Falcon ban for the series. So going map 3 for EMPYREAN will mean that they will have that Falcon available should they want to pick it. EMPYREAN, though, they'd love to lock this one up in 2. No need to go to a decisive game 3. You want to win this one with confidence, 2-0. Go into that next round, starting to feel yourself, starting to believe in the team. They are going to ban the Inferno, which is interesting considering I feel Magical Abyss was winning the Inferno trade for the most part in the last map. However, Hurricane also maybe very comfortable, similar strikers in some ways.
Can't really give up on the Welkin. I see Ancilla thinking about it. Yariela standing out to me here. It's a great map for Panther, but I don't know if I'm full sold on going Panther to Panther with Yinza.
EMPYREAN are actually right now hovering a double down on this original comp that we saw come out on Palm Bay with the 4 Ultra Heavies, Hurricane, Tricera, Stego, and Welkin. Lumine, of course, with the support, and then Sky Raider to bring that team fight disruption. So they're actually completely going away from the way this map often plays, where teams split more, and I think that's something that we're definitely going to see out of CSTG, looking for that individual play. However, you got to give credit here to EMPYREAN. They're going to go for the all-in main group team fights. If you can win these fights quickly and decisively, sometimes there will only be one objective at a time, right? Like, typically we see the objectives so difficult to cap that, okay, maybe you're going to be forced to split to grab the second objective. However, I think EMPYREAN are gambling that they can just win the main group fight so decisively, so quickly, that they're going to be able to cap these objectives before CSTG can force the split up.
Other end of that blade is going to be if EMPYREAN do lose a few members, if they do start to get panicked, splitting up, this comp is so easy to pick apart when they're just individuals. EMPYREAN are basically gambling on being able to slam points as they come up and win those fights in very quick form while staying together. And that is something that CSTG will really challenge on an individual skill level with great picks themselves. CSTG, this could very well be their map.
I wonder, though, for something like a Panther, like, how do you deal with this heavy stacked composition? You know, like, it's so dangerous to come into that main stack of turrets, and that's pretty much what EMPYREAN are, is like this insane death ball of damage and threat. The Aquila, though, could be a factor, could be something that Ramen Rook has to be careful for. Sky Raider lacks some of the defense.
Do wonder if they're going to be able to pull this off. Full commitment onto the point. Down goes the box. Down goes the Tricera. Point cap starting to come out, and the jamming missiles also thrown in here by the Sky Raider. Ramen Rook keeping pressure on, so much so that CSTG have to commit. EMPYREAN don't have health bars that are too low, but CSTG, having lost one now, numbers disadvantage as they commit to the fight.
Yariella starting to pump damage. 2 down for CSTG. EMPYREAN, their gambit is paying off. They win this fight quickly, decisively. A third member falls for CSTG, and it looks to be a complete rout here. Everyone's still healthy on EMPYREAN.
That is 4 members down for CSTG.
They just got obliterated. Yinza trying to stall the cap, but at a risk of his own life, trying to turn around on Yariella, but so hard to stay alive. There's going to be a back off from Yariella. 1 cap comes in for EMPYREAN, and CSTG, they're still respawning as this next objective comes online. This could be a quick 2-0. EMPYREAN coming into a huge lead, and the strat is paying off beautifully.
Such a gamble to do this, to say that you're just going to be able to win the team fights. You're not going to get picked off, and it is going to turn into basically a steamroller is the best visual that I can bring up of a squad. EMPYREAN looking pretty unchallenged right now as Yariella does get picked off, separated from the rest of the team, but still crucially not taken down. You've got plenty of healing up on EMPYREAN to repair even Magical Abyss, who takes quite a bit of damage. Jamming missiles, Haze going to come in, keeping Yinza from being able to get full value. EMPYREAN start to commit to the fight again as CSTG close the gap. Can CSTG roll the dice again, start to pick apart this comp?
They're trying to get aggressive, trying to attack into the main group of EMPYREAN, but EMPYREAN, their setup still healthy for now. CSTG, will they be able to keep up this aggression? Magical Abyss, though, dropping low, taking a risk right now, splitting a bit from the main group on Hurricane, but it did just enough, able to pressure the main group. Objective is down, second about to spawn, so split up soon available for CSTG, but they're already down 1, and the capture being threatened by EMPYREAN.
Almost ended up getting that too, did Yariella. EMPYREAN, with very low health bars on their Welkin, are going to lose 1 member of the core squad. This could be the turning point for CSTG. Now that they found 1 pick, can they take the rest of this composition apart? Magical Abyss going to fall. It's 2-0 for EMPYREAN, but now that they're starting to lose numbers, their composition is crumbling.
Chaldean dumping damage from range, though. This is where Stego can really shine.
Chaldean
Absolutely
trades!
crushing the enemy team right now. 2 objectives are online. Everyone fighting over the 1, but CSTG, we talked about that split. They grab an objective for free and a second as well, evening up the board.
CSTG really showed their prowess on this map previously, being able to stall things out to the point that these Corite extractors were expiring because it had been so long. 2-2 now as CSTG capture both of the previously available Corite extractors. Ramen Rook still looking for the jamming missiles, still hoping to disrupt the backline, but it's EMPYREAN that need to group up once again and take that solid 6v6.
Yariella putting the pressure on Yinza, boxes this Panther, but who's going to win the 1v1? Yinza has been so effective in these duels. Yariella trying to back off, play the spam pressure, but Yinza pilots the Panther expertly, looking for an opportunity. Defensive box, beautiful, very hard for Panther to play into this. Misses the charge as well, critical HP, and Yariella, rather than chasing the kill, goes right back to the main group fight. I love that awareness.
Yeah, you know that you've got a basically 1 HP Panther, but Corite extractors are literally what you need to be focusing on in every way. A and B going to spawn basically right next to each other, so EMPYREAN have got to take 2 quick fights back to back. Ahai going to be zoned off the point. Double Welkin box in the sky. Focuses both, trapping Ramen Rook in between them. But Ahai gets slammed back down to the ground. And again, we are Welkin boxing in the sky. Magical Abyss going to be taken down. And again, that first pick on EMPYREAN could spell disaster.
CSTG, they need to convert this. Big team fight win. Ming Zhiming low on the objective, though in the Stego smoke, staying alive, getting that extra fluid armor regen. EMPYREAN down 1, not out yet, but Ramen Rook very low, hard to push the limit on Sky Raider with this much pressure on you. CSTG trading the pressure admirably, but it's an all-out, knocked-out drag out here on the objective.
Yinza comes back just in time, but we need to get the interrupt on this point. Spinning. Gonna do it for Yariella, keeping everybody at bay. Remember,
so
points A and B still both available. We are full committing at B. Taking a look over at A in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. It is also an all-out brawl with Ramen Rook over there, dumping the jamming missiles once again. Nobody able to get close. Yariella gets eliminated at point B, and that may be enough to open things up for CSTG.
Magical Abyss trying to sneak that second objective. CSTG, they are up 2, but their players here at the objective are very low. Seems to be maybe just enough to survive. Yinza on the limit here on Panther. But it was a cap, though, for Empyrean in the chaos. They were able to get it done. Chaldean shuts down Zhuhai. Empyrean, despite being down 2 players, they seem to be winning this fight.
Crazy that we are reaching that point. Magical Abyss going to fall again, and these are very long respawn timers that are starting to pop up for Magical Abyss. 20+ seconds for the respawn of the main DPS for Empyrean, but it is 3-2, and with 5, almost 6 minutes left, Empyrean retain a lead, and I do wonder for how long. CSTG are playing wonderfully if they want to take this back.
Another pickoff for Empyrean, though. Objectives not quite up yet, so mostly focused on the team fight. Sanwing very low, though, on the Tricera. Could be vulnerable. Rook starting to harass. Almost certainly going to be calling this out. The rest of the team, though, coming in for CSTG. They want to take this fight. They know this next objective could be a turning point in the map.
Pointe has spawned. Do wonder who's going to cap this first, as so often the rushes actually end up working. Empyrean managed to put themselves up 4-2. Zhuhai arriving just a little too late, despite all the damage that's being dumped into these Chloride extractors. Looks like Welkenbox and Send is working, Jake.
Yeah, the movement was quick from Empyrean. They were very aware on that rotation. CSTG players dropping low. Rook dumping everything on this hilltop. And the rest of the players are available. Empyrean drop a player of their own, but still low targets available. The rest of the focus fire needs to come through in this moment. Ming very low, under pressure,
crazy.
bursted by Rook. Well done on the Sky Raider, and just continuing to find target after target.
That is the comfortability that you get with someone like Rook. He is making Sky Raider look like Falcon, just with more team utility. His maneuverability is fantastic so far, but he finally gets Welkenboxed. Will he be taken down? It looks like the answer is no, as he's able to outmaneuver and escape once again.
Back to the team, grabs a drone heal from Illuminate and right back into the engagement, continuing to put the pressure on the opponents. They're so aware of the threat he poses, but so far they haven't been able to answer it. A pickup for Empyrean puts them in a player advantage. Only 3 more caps to win this map, and CSTG struggling here at the final hurdle. This is their tournament life on the line. A critical team fight breaks out on point A.
4 minutes left, but again, the Welkenbox goes down. Bunches of damage being dumped in by Stegos from afar. Yinza about to respawn for CSTG, who are technically at a numbers disadvantage, but they're holding on just fine with a little bit of spinning to win on the point so far. Zach tries to go for a sneaky cap, but will be pushed away on the Lumine, just prioritizing staying alive and keeping the team up as well.
Such a powerful heal gas right now in the main group. CSTG, a few players are low. Magical Abyss
nice.
Starting to pump the damage from the flank. Yinza gets right on it, knows he needs to shut it down, but the Hurricane can be so difficult to target down in these critical scenarios. Ancilia sets up over the top, starting to dump damage on this extractor. Still only 1 objective available that plays to Empyrean strengths. Up 1 kill already. A second.
Sen gets taken down. That's so big. Welkin now missing from CSTG, and it's a double box for Empyrean that gets thrown down on this point. 6-2 now in terms of Chloride extractors, and with a big one coming up, a large Chloride extractor could be just the thing to seal this for Empyrean. That is worth 2 points. If they capture this, they will win Cape Blanc Observatory, and they will move on to the next round.
CSTG, 1 last chance to regroup. Yinza goes for a disruption here, but doesn't really have the teammates alive to convert this into a team fight win. Just having confidence on the Panther, he can hold the enemy's attention and not be punished. Yariella, though, has constantly been on Panther duty, warding away this threat in the backline. Goes for a box, committing on the objective. No, the damage comes in to stop the cap. CSTG have to hold on to this extractor.
But they are spamming the commitment. Empyrean forcing CSTG into them, because if you do not enter this Welkin's range, the cap will be taken away from you, and 2 points and the round and their tournament lives will go over to Empyrean. Rook fighting in the skies once again, almost takes out Sen, but doesn't quite, as Tricera ends up staggering just in the middle, actually standing on top of the Chloride extractor. Sen Wang finally going to go down. Numbers advantage again for Empyrean as the jamming missiles come in. Rook in the skies, raining down hell onto CSTG.
CSTG, this is their last hope, but Yariello wants to slam the door on this team from China, send them home. Already 3 kills for Empyrean, going up to a 7th point, and 8th. No, it's the double, and Empyrean close it out, sending home CSTG, one of the fan favorite competitors at this tournament. But Empyrean, they are feeling themselves. They went all in on the team fight composition, and they were able to get it done, even on a map that doesn't necessarily suit their strengths.
They went, you know what? splitting up on Cape Blanc is overrated.
Yeah.
What if we just deathball every Corite extractor? And I thought in the middle that it was going to fall apart, but that experience and discipline that we've seen lacking from so many teams that have fallen up until now, to wait, to be able to group up, stay alive, and play defensively is something that EMPYREAN have in spades.
Yeah, and EMPYREAN able to get that win on map 1, despite 2 very core strikers to their strategy being out of the mix. Yariella coming in on Welkin map 2, really dealing with the Panther threat in Yinsa. And I love that he was warding off the Panther, but never overcommitting to the chase. Always ready to come back to the team, focus on the main group fight, where that's where EMPYREAN cut their teeth. That's where they feel the strongest.
Now that EMPYREAN have taken down CSTG, when we've seen them evolve as a team up until this very point, but they are looking like a team that can now go much further in the tournament, given the improvement that we've seen in their coordination, in their individual strategies since the beginning. I will say that last hand sign, maybe a little bit uncoordinated, but
You got to do better. Come on now.
maybe they're a bit shaken, you know?
They're feeling themselves. They're feeling pretty good about that. And honestly, been probably the team to use Skyraider maybe more than anybody else. A striker that I had sort of written off at the start of the tournament. I thought, wow, Falcon's just better. You know, Falcon just so maneuverable, so hard to pick off. But Skyraider, maybe a little bit riskier, greedier, more punishable. However, in expert hands like Ramen Rooks, he's making it work. He's really disrupting those setups and playing into the strengths for Team EMPYREAN when they focus on those main team fights.
And I was serious about the Ramen Rook's ability to make Skyraider look like Falcon in terms of the stickiness. The move on over, transform, dash back, hit him once again was working so well, and Ramen Rook looked not just like a great caster in terms of being able to cover with jamming missiles the enemy team, but also was sticking to squishy targets in much the same ways he really would on Falcon.
Yeah, and arguably getting even more done. So it shows that, you know, if you really master those flying strikers, maybe you can push the limit. Maybe you can take the risk of lacking some of those more advanced aerial maneuvers that Falcon has and still getting the job done. And that's a game against an Aquila. You know, you get hit by one of those immobilizing drones, or you just start getting pressured down by a lock-on from Aquila. That's a very scary spot to be. And for Ramen Rook to navigate those maps so expertly, be so difficult to shut down, so consistent in delivering his payloads to the enemy target, I mean, really impressed by that. I think that's going to be something that I wonder if teams are going to have to think about banning Skyraider. I mean, that's pretty wild.
That's crazy.
EMPYREAN's been one of the only teams really to deploy it, but I have to think maybe that's something you want to take away from them.
I imagine at the start of the tournament looking us in the eye and saying, day 3, we're banning Skyraider, by the way.
Yeah, this tournament has been pretty wild to see innovations on innovations with the ban pick format. Let's take a look at some of the stats, look at some of the MVP candidates here. Yariella, huge performance on the Welkin. I have to agree with this. I think the Welkin performance was fantastic. Great flexibility through the series. Well done.
And Welkin really does form the core of a composition like this when you are deathballing. I think Yariella and Magical Abyss, both very much to credit for the team's ability to stay alive. I'd say Yariella maybe a little bit more so, if only because he wasn't focused nearly as much as Magical Abyss. And the KDA will hurt Magical Abyss's MVP candidacy a little bit more, but both of them on Hurricane and Welkin provide the team a lot of survivability and are also critical to actually being able to secure the points when the Corite extractors do drop. Welkin Box was the thing that was securing 99% of these, and Yariella makes a really strong argument for MVP here.
Yeah, I also want to compliment Zakev for staying alive, right? You know, when you run this super heavy tanking setup, if your Lumine is the vulnerable Achilles heel of that composition, if you go down on the Lumine, that strat starts to fall apart. I mean, he gets 1.5 million repair in that game. I mean, massive performance and a lot of pressure on Lumine to not make any mistakes, and well delivered by Zakev. That's a commitment in the strategy. And
that's across 2 games with a Panther in it as well. Like, a Panther's job is theoretically to isolate and destroy the Lumine. Didn't see that happen.
Couldn't target him down. I mean, very aware of the threats that are coming in against them. And CSTG, as much as they've been a fan favorite team, something really fun to watch. Yinsa, such an exciting Panther pilot to spectate throughout the tournament. This is going to be goodbye to them as EMPYREAN eliminate CSTG from the tournament and move on here in the lower bracket.
Yeah, I mean, we really got to thank CSTG for the show that they were able to put on. Yesterday was really, really fun to watch, and even today, I liked seeing the way that they approached trying to take out EMPYREAN. I don't think this was a team that was completely smashed by any means. This was still a very close fight. EMPYREAN, with some slightly better tactics, maybe more polished team play, ended up taking the advantage and having cleaner games. But CSTG, I'm still excited to see them continue playing Mecha Break in the future.
Yeah, definitely a team to keep your eyes on. A lot of exciting players and streamers on the squad. But I like that EMPYREAN have really set themselves apart for now. They really have a vision for how they want to play.